I'm sorry. Who did you say you are? The groom's father looked like he'd seen a ghost. I stood at the back of the wedding hall, straight-backed in a charcoal suit, holding the invitation that was supposed to humiliate me. Every champagne glass in the room stopped mid-air. The bride, my ex-wife Madison, locked eyes with me from the altar, and the color drained from her face like someone pulled her soul out. "Eric," she whispered, "what are you doing here?" I smiled. "Not the kind you give a friend. The kind you give fate when it comes full circle. You invited me, remember?" That's when Brandon, her fiancé, turned to her. "Wait, asterisk, you were married to him?" The room stirred. The whispers hit like a storm. And then Brandon's dad, pale and trembling, stepped forward, pointed at me, and barked. "Cancel the wedding." Silence. Then chaos. Madison's mouth opened. Nothing came out. Her friends gasped. Her mother fainted. And I just stood there, calm as hell, letting the past explode in front of me. Now, I know you're wondering, what the hell just happened? Let's rewind. Let me tell you how the woman who left me for not being a success ended up begging for forgiveness on the day she was supposed to marry someone else. Everyone turned to me like I was the villain walking into a fairy tale. And maybe I was. Maybe I'd finally accepted that. Madison stumbled down the steps of the altar, heels clicking like gunshots on marble. "Eric, what the hell are you doing?" she hissed, that fake smile stretched across her face for the guests. I held up the invitation she'd sent me. "You invited me. Handwritten note and all. Thought I might learn what real success looks like." She grabbed my arm, nails biting into my skin. "This isn't the time. You need to leave. Now." Brandon was watching her. Not me, her. "Why didn't you tell me your ex was this Eric Miles?" She spun back to him, voice shaky but trying to stay composed. "Because he doesn't matter. He's nothing. He's just trying to ruin this for me because I left him." That line. Because I left him. Not because we didn't work. Not because it ended badly. No. It was always about her. Her decision. Her pride. Brandon's dad, still stiff as a statue, turned to me again. "You're the one who buried my campaign. The files, the leak." I nodded. "I never meant for it to be personal. I didn't even know he was your son. Until the invitation." Brandon stepped off the altar. "Files? What files?" The crowd started to murmur again, a wave of suspicion growing. I could feel the energy shift. People were no longer looking at me like an intruder. They were watching her. Madison's voice cracked. "Brandon, don't listen to him. He's bitter." "Shut up," he snapped, sharper than I'd ever expect from a groom in white. Someone in the back had pulled out their phone. I could see them Googling my name. They'd find it fast. The expose. The lawsuit. The investigation that sent half of Brandon's dad's donors running for cover. Madison's mom rushed to her side, whispering frantic things in her ear. Probably some blend of damage control and what have you done. I didn't care. I came for one reason, to see it, to feel it, to watch the woman who spit on my loyalty realize I was no longer the man she walked away from. Brandon turned to his father. "You knew." I didn't know it was him. The man barked. "If I had, I'd never let this happen. Never." "You said this marriage would help clean the family image," Brandon growled. "What else are you hiding?" I stood silent. I didn't need to say a word. The truth was unraveling on its own. Madison looked at me one more time. "You came here just to ruin my life." I finally stepped forward, slow and deliberate, close enough for only her to hear me. "No, Madison. You ruined it the day you chose a lifestyle over love. I came to return the favor." Her slap came out of nowhere. Stung like hell, but I didn't flinch. The guests gasped again. That was her breaking point, not mine. I turned around, walked out of the hall, the noise of chaos behind me like thunder I didn't need to run from. But right before the doors closed, I heard it. Her scream. Not one of rage. One of loss. One of realization. And that was better than revenge. I didn't look back. Not once. I walked out of that building and into the California sunlight like I'd just escaped a burning house I used to call home. The valet brought up my car, the same AMG she once mocked when I said I'd own something like it one day. "Dreams don't pay rent, Eric," she used to say. Well, now they bought me silence. I got in, closed the door, and the world outside turned to static. I sat there for a moment, gripping the steering wheel, heart still thudding from the tension. I thought I'd feel victorious, triumphant. I didn't. I felt clean, like something that had clung to me for years had finally peeled off. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I picked up, already knowing who it was. "Eric, please don't hang up," Madison's voice pleaded, shaky and breathless. I didn't say a word. I didn't know he was connected to you. I didn't know. You didn't care to know, I said flatly. You were too busy chasing a better last name. There was a pause. Then the voice I remembered, cold, entitled, returned. You're not better than me just because you got lucky. You think this little power move means anything? You're still that broke dreamer in a hoodie who used to beg me to believe in him. I almost laughed. And you're still the woman who used to measure love in square footage and Instagram likes. Silence. Then she snapped. You'll die alone, Eric. I hung up. It was a strange moment, knowing she had nothing left to throw at me except curses. No apology. No ownership. Just venom. Just projection. I pulled out of the venue's long circular driveway, the road stretching open in front of me. I didn't have a destination. I just needed to drive. Memories hit like potholes on a straight road. Her laugh when I burned dinner during our first month together. The night we danced in our tiny apartment, broke but stupidly in love. The first time she came home late, smelling like whiskey and lies. It wasn't all bad, and that's what hurt. Betrayal only stings when the love was real. And mine had been. Every bit of it. But hers? She'd started changing a year before she left. It began with little things. Gym at night. Phone always face down. New perfume. Strange absences. I wanted to believe it was stress. Work. Boredom. Anything but what it was. Then came the night I knew. I remember it like a scar. She came home past midnight. No apology. Lipstick smudged. Dress inside out at the hem. I asked her where she'd been, and she gave me a look, the kind you give a dog who barks too much. I needed air, she said. Not interrogation. I didn't press. I just watched. Noticed. And when she slipped into the shower without undressing properly, I knew something sacred had broken. A week later, I found the hotel receipt. She said it was a mistake. A reservation her friend made using her account. I wanted to believe that lie so badly. I think I even nodded. But something inside me cracked that night, and it never healed. After she left, I spent months thinking I wasn't enough. That I lost the one person I thought would ride out the storm with me. I didn't realize she'd already jumped ship before the clouds even formed. Now, after all this time, after the pain, the silence, the rebuilding, I was the storm. And she didn't know how to survive it. That night, I didn't go home. Instead, I drove to the cliffs near Crescent Bay. The same place we used to watch sunsets from the trunk of my old Honda, back when love felt simple and didn't carry price tags. The ocean was violent that evening, crashing against the rocks like it wanted to break the world open. I parked, stepped out, and let the wind rip through my suit like it was trying to strip away the last bit of her that clung to me. I sat on the hood, phone still in my hand. Madison hadn't tried calling again. Not yet. But I knew she would. I opened my texts. I don't know why I did it. Maybe I needed to see it one more time, the moment she stopped pretending. It was from a year and a half ago, just before she left. Madison, I need space. I can't be the only one trying. That was her opening line. The same one cheaters use when they're looking for a noble exit from dirty actions. I scrolled further. A few messages later came the one that cemented everything. Madison, you have ambition, Eric, but no direction. I want more. More. That word again. What she meant was, I want someone who already has it all, so I don't have to wait and believe in anyone anymore. And now that more had walked out on her at the altar in front of 200 people. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a voice message. I hesitated, then hit play. She was crying. Real tears, or manufactured. I couldn't tell anymore. Eric. I messed up. I panicked. I thought I wanted something else, but when I saw you walk in, I remembered everything. Everything we had. Everything you used to say you'd become. And you did. You really did. Please just, don't let this be the end of us. I stared at the ocean. Let the words fade into the sound of waves. I didn't even bother replying. Let her sit in the echo of her own regret. But that wasn't the end of it. The next morning, I woke up to my doorbell ringing. It was her. Standing there in yesterday's makeup and a trench coat she used to wear on our date nights. She had the same look she wore when she asked me to fix her car one summer, vulnerable, manipulative, layered. I didn't say a word, just leaned on the door frame and stared. Can we talk? She whispered. No, I replied. She blinked like I'd slapped her. Just 5 minutes. You had 5 years, I said. She pushed past me like the boundaries didn't matter. Like she still owned part of this place. My house wasn't big, but it was mine. Earned. Built from scratch after she left. She looked around like she was searching for proof I hadn't changed. This is nice, she said, touching the edge of the marble kitchen island. Don't touch things that don't belong to you anymore. That hit. She froze. Then she dropped the act. Her voice turned sharp. You think you're better than me now, don't you? No. I know I am. You were nothing without me. No, I was nothing because of you. She stepped closer, inches from my face. You think I didn't love you? I held her stare. I think you loved what I could be, not who I was. And when that dream took longer than you wanted, you left. She was quiet then. I thought maybe, for once, she'd own it. But she didn't. I cheated, all right? She snapped. You want to hear it? Fine. I did it. Multiple times. With Brandon. With 2 others before him. Because I was tired of waiting for you to stop dreaming and start living. I smiled. Not out of joy, out of understanding. You didn't cheat because I was a dreamer. You cheated because you're a coward. And now you want back in because you thought I'd still be standing where you left me. She slapped me again. I let it land. You're done now? I asked. She nodded slowly. But there were no more tears. She left. Just like before. But this time, I didn't hurt. I didn't move for a long time after the door closed. Just stood there, staring at the spot where she'd been, half expecting it to open again. But it didn't. This time, her exit wasn't dramatic. No suitcase, no screaming. Just quiet failure wrapped in regret. I made coffee. The kitchen felt warmer than usual, calmer. No storm in the air, no invisible tension pressing against my chest. It was like her presence had always carried static, and now it was finally gone. I sat down with the cup, looked at my phone, and for a second, I wondered if I should tell someone. Not for sympathy, not for advice, just to release it into the world. But I didn't. Some things don't need to be shared, they just need to be survived. Around noon, I got a call from an unknown number. I let it ring, then another, then a third. Finally, I picked up. Eric Miles. Yes. This is Detective Sam Harris with the Beverly Hills Police Department. We need to speak with you regarding an incident at the Oak Ridge Event Hall yesterday afternoon. I froze. What kind of incident? Allegations of professional defamation and disruption of a private legal event. I'd prefer we talk in person. I exhaled slowly. I'll come down. 2 hours later, I was sitting in a glass-walled room at the station. Detective Harris was younger than I expected, mid-30s, sharp eyes. He didn't offer coffee. Just opened a file and placed a printed screenshot in front of me. A post from Madison's social media. Captioned, "He ruined my life. Showed up to humiliate me. He planned this for years." The comments were already a war zone. Half people defending her, half people tearing her apart. But one comment stood out. From Brandon himself. She told me he was abusive, manipulative, that he chased her for months after their divorce. None of it was true. I found out everything yesterday. I'm sorry to everyone who came. She lied to us all. I looked up. So what exactly am I being accused of? Nothing officially, Harris said. She filed a report. But with this statement from Brandon and her social media history, it's unlikely to go anywhere. Still, I had to call you in. I nodded. Thanks for being straight with me. He closed the file. For what it's worth, you handled that whole situation with restraint most people wouldn't manage. I stood up. You ever been betrayed, detective? He paused. Yeah, then you get it. When I left the station, I realized I wasn't angry. I didn't want revenge anymore. Madison could spin whatever story she wanted. The truth had already been carved into that moment at the altar. No caption could erase the look on her face when it all fell apart. That evening, I went to dinner with a few close friends. They knew some of the story, not all. I didn't give them details. Just said, she finally invited me to the show. I just didn't realize I'd be the finale. They laughed. But underneath, they saw it. The weight finally lifted. The closure I never got when she left was now mine. Not because she gave it, but because I took it. A few days later, I received an envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside was a check, $500,000, from Brandon's father's foundation, with a handwritten note. Consider it an apology. Thank you for blowing the lid off what none of us had the courage to face. I didn't cash it, but I framed the note. Because sometimes, closure doesn't come from a conversation or a clean break. Sometimes, it comes from knowing the truth shook a room so hard the liars couldn't keep standing. A week passed. Madison didn't call again. The silence, after everything, was louder than her voice ever was. No texts. No apologies. Not even another half-baked accusation on social media. Just digital ghosting, like she'd vanished with the shame. But I knew her better than that. Madison didn't disappear, she regrouped. She always did. Then came the email. The subject line. I need to explain something. Please read. I hovered over delete. I should have. But curiosity always has sharp teeth. The message was long. Too long. But it wasn't what I expected. It wasn't an apology, it was a breakdown. She wrote about how she met Brandon before our divorce, how it started as a connection at a charity gala, how she felt seen by him. That phrase, felt seen, made me roll my eyes. She claimed she didn't leave because I wasn't good enough, but because I reminded her too much of who she used to be. Poor. Scrappy. Uncertain. She said I was a mirror she couldn't look into anymore. And then she wrote something I didn't expect. I didn't know what love actually was until I watched you walk away from me without looking back. That's when I realized I didn't just lose a man. I lost the only person who ever knew who I really was and stayed. There it was. Regret. Too late. I closed the email and archived it. Not out of bitterness. Just peace. That chapter was closed. And life moved fast after that. My business hit a new milestone, a partnership with a major firm in New York. I traveled. I met people. Laughed without guilt. Woke up without wondering where she was or who she was lying to. But Madison? I heard through someone that she moved to Arizona. Alone. Her name hasn't been in headlines since the wedding. Brandon vanished from socials, too. Then, 3 months later, I ran into someone I hadn't seen in years. Tessa. She was the photographer who shot our engagement session back in the day. She recognized me instantly, even though I was wearing sunglasses and had a beard now. We got coffee. Talked for hours. About everything and nothing. And when I dropped her off at her place, she smiled and said, "You're different now." Better or worse? I asked. More real, she said. Like you finally stopped pretending to be okay for someone else. She was right. I wasn't surviving anymore. I was living. And here's the part no one tells you. When a woman leaves you because you're not successful enough, she's giving you a gift. She's handing you your future back, without her in it. And maybe that future is quieter, simpler, harder. But it's yours. So if you're reading this, if someone left you behind because they didn't believe in who you were becoming, don't chase them. Don't prove anything. Build. Heal. Live. And one day, you'll walk into a room, and they'll be the ones looking for the exit. Because nothing is louder than the silence of someone who finally knows what they lost. Let me know if you'd like a bonus part or an alternative ending. About 4 months after the wedding disaster, I got a call from a number I hadn't saved, but I knew it the second it lit up my screen. I let it ring once. Twice. Then I picked up. Eric. Madison's voice was calm. No panic. No tears. Just still. I didn't speak. Just waited. I just wanted to say thank you, she said. You freed me from a lie. One I built, one I lived in. I know I hurt you. I know I don't deserve a reply. But I wanted you to hear it from me. You were the only real thing I ever had. I exhaled. Not from pain. From finality. I know, I said, and hung up. That was it. The last time I ever heard her voice. Life didn't go cinematic after that. There was no romantic montage, no perfectly timed new love swooping in to save me from the ache. But that was the beauty of it. I didn't need saving. I already did that myself. I started waking up earlier, not because I had to, but because I wanted to. The silence of the morning felt clean, like a blank page. I worked better. I breathed better. Hell, I even started laughing more. Real laughter, not the polite, hollow kind I used to use as a mask when I was with her. The men I used to envy, guys with the flashy cars, the perfect Instagram wives, the curated lives, I stopped seeing them as models and started seeing them as masks. Many of them were living Madison's fantasy. Polished on the surface, empty behind the eyes. Always performing. Always selling something. I didn't want that anymore. One night, I hosted a dinner. Closed circle only. No strangers, no business pitches. Just people who stuck by me when I had nothing to offer but honesty and ambition. Halfway through the night, one of my old college friends leaned back in his chair and said, "You seem lighter, man. Like you finally stopped carrying someone else's guilt." That hit hard. Because it was true. For the longest time, I thought I failed her. That I couldn't give her what she needed. I let her rewrite the story of our relationship and cast me as the disappointment. But the truth was simple. She didn't want a partner. She wanted a shortcut. And when I didn't fit that role fast enough, she bailed. Only now did I realize that wasn't my failure. It was her limit. Tessa and I kept seeing each other. Nothing serious. Just soft beginnings, long talks, and real connection. She asked questions Madison never bothered with. She listened without waiting for her turn to speak. She laughed with her whole face, not just for show. And for once, I didn't feel like I had to prove anything to be worthy of someone. It wasn't about replacing Madison. It was about finally remembering who I was before her lies started to sound like facts. I stopped following her online, stopped checking mutual friends, let her ghost fade for good. She became something smaller than pain. Just a lesson. A name I once used to say with love, now just a footnote in a story I own completely. And the next time I stood in a room full of people, they weren't whispering behind my back. They were listening. To me. Not because I destroyed someone, or crashed a wedding, or dropped a bomb, but because I'd survived, grown, built something with my own hands and refused to let betrayal define the rest of my story. So here's what I'd tell you if you're standing where I stood, staring at the pieces of your pride, wondering if you'll ever feel whole again. You will. Not all at once. Not quickly. Not cleanly. But eventually. And one day, you'll walk past the mirror, catch your reflection, and think, damn, that man came back stronger than anyone expected, including himself. Want a follow-up story set a year later with a surprising twist? It was almost exactly a year later when I got the invitation. Not a wedding this time, a gala. Charity fundraiser in downtown LA, hosted by one of the new tech foundations I'd invested in. I almost didn't go. I hated these things. Polished smiles, fake handshakes, influencers pretending they cared about starving kids while sipping $300 cocktails. But something about that night felt different. I showed up late, just enough to skip the speeches but early enough to still make an impression. Wore a midnight blue suit, the one tailored so well it made me look like I'd never bled for anything. No tie. Confidence didn't need one anymore. I was halfway through a conversation with a venture capitalist from Seattle when I saw her. Madison. She was across the room, standing alone with a glass of champagne, staring through the crowd like she didn't belong anymore. Her hair was different. Softer. No extensions, no sharp lines. She looked older, but not in a bad way, just stripped of that fake glow she used to coat herself in like perfume. She was beautiful still, but not intimidating, not untouchable. She saw me, and for a second, the room vanished. She didn't smile, didn't look away either, just watched. I gave her a nod. Calm, distant, nothing bitter, nothing warm. And that was all. I didn't walk over, didn't say hi, didn't reopen a door that should have stayed locked forever. But I saw it in her eyes. She knew that I'd moved on, that I didn't hate her, that I didn't need her. And that was the cruelest kindness I could have ever given. I left early, drove down the coast with the windows down, wind loud, music louder. The city faded behind me like a bad dream. No ghost in the rear view, just road. And that was the end. No big finale. No epic confrontation. Just life, real, steady, earned. That night, I pulled over on a quiet overlook and looked out at the ocean. Same place I'd sat almost a year ago, angry, heartbroken, lost. Now I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. And as I closed my eyes, breathed in that salt air, I realized something simple, something freeing. She left me because I wasn't a success. But walking away from her? That was the most successful thing I ever did. The end.